Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this KARDS basic training video. So this is the fourth video in this series on the very basics of deck building and how you can improve your starter decks. If you haven't watched the first video in this series, I recommend doing so before proceeding further with this one. We have played around with the British and the Soviet decks, but now we have something totally different to look at, and that is the Japanese deck. So let's dive into it. So what's interesting about the Japanese starter deck is that it already has a bit more focus than the other starter decks. It is mainly built around cheap infantry units and units that give infantry bonuses, and on top of that it has really good fighter aircraft. But besides from this infantry focus, this deck also has quite a few cards that deal damage to the enemy HQ when they are destroyed. So the cards that deal indirectly damage to the enemy HQ, the Hayabusa fighters also have this deal 2 damage to the enemy HQ on destruction. If you take this further and create a deck around this concept, it is called a burn deck. And they are quite equally loved and hated. The Japanese starter deck doesn't really have enough cards for this to be a really strong focus, but we will still keep this focus as part of the deck. So like before, we create a new deck and we are going to create a Japanese deck. I am going to add their Axis ally, Germany, as their ally. So I have assembled the Japanese starter deck again, card by card. The only difference is now that I have the German ally. For the type of deck I was discussing, the burn deck, Germany would be a really natural ally because they have some cards like that as well, but they are not in the German starter deck. So we will not be using those. Nevertheless, I wanted to add something else than just using the Soviet ally for everything. And I think we can improve the Japanese deck a little bit by adding some good German cards. Like before, let's start with the weaknesses. In terms of removal cards, this Japanese deck has Naval Operation, which deals 1 damage and pins all enemy ground units. This is a pretty good card, somewhat situational. Amphibious Assault is really good, but we only have 1 of those. It's really effective against early threats in the game. And then this excellent fighter aircraft, the A6M0, has a deployment effect. It deals 1 damage. That can also be really useful. Nevertheless, perhaps we would like to add Sudden Strike, which is a quite effective removal card for the early game. And then, as before, we just need to decide what to skip instead. So I'm thinking about removing 1 of these Imperial Orders. I have quite small units and I don't want to be repairing them that much on an individual level. So I pick Sudden Strike. As well as Sudden Strike, because I have quite a lot of infantry units, I'm going to add this Panzer 35T into my deck because it synergizes well with the infantry theme. The next question is, do we have some drawing power within this deck? We have the Rising Sun, which is a really good drawing card, but it is somewhat situational. You need to hold the front line to get the benefit out of it, and it can be completely dead in your hands if you lose control of the front line. So I think, to be on the safe side, that we want to add some drawing cards. The Germans don't have very much when it comes to that, but they have this one really nice tank that has a deployment effect that allows you to draw an additional card when you play it, which is really good. You get a solid unit on the battlefield as well as drawing a card. Bang for the buck, as they say. So what should we remove to fit these panzers into our deck? I am going to remove a couple of these Type 95 light tanks for the German light tanks. Finally, I would like to add this Panzer IIIJ into my deck. It is a solid value card. It's a tank that has Blitz, which is always useful. And I am also a little bit on the light side. If we look at the mana curve, we have a lot of cards that cost 1, 2, 3, but very few mid-game cards that can deliver a proper punch to the enemy. So I'm going to skip one of these Type 97. They are good, giving bonuses to our infantry, but we have 4 of those, and we have 3 left, so I'm going to replace one of those with the Panzer. I would actually like to do one final thing here. When I opened one of the packs I told you about earlier, the 4 packs, I got this Panzer IV F2, which is quite a devastating tank, and I would like to add it into my Japanese deck. So once more, we need to find something that we can throw out of our deck. I'm hesitant to remove the infantry cards because there is some synergy in those. I will actually remove another one of these Type 97 tanks and add this German beast instead. Now we can deliver a bit more damage to the enemy HQ and defeat them decisively. That's it for now. I hope you enjoyed, and we will be taking a look at another starter deck in the next video. Ciao.